question is to all the candidates as well. We've heard that everybody loves the beauty of the Central Coast. So my question is, why is the Liberal Party in particular, and perhaps Labor, supporting the seismic testing off the coast and with the prospect of drilling for gas? That is hardly beautifying the coast.
I agree. Good question.
Can I answer that one first? Yeah.
Right.
I would never support anything that harms our marine life, and I'm on the record in print, and I was on ABC Radio discussing that as well. So I think that
Can I just ask if the Labor Party goes with it? Are you going to support it?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do with the Labor Party is undertake. So there's a couple of things. Take a step back. So something that Labor Party has already done is increased the accountability for the environmental plan that the applicants have to put in. So as it's a complicated process, but there's 2 stages. They've got a work plan, they've got an environmental plan that has to go in. Now, they haven't submitted it yet, is my understanding, but because I've been at pre-poll, I haven't looked around. And I also believe that it costs around $90,000 for them to do it. But once they do submit that plan and it goes through all the hoops it has to go through, what we have already achieved is much greater scrutiny. So they will need to come to this community and have public forums like this, where we will be able to question them about the efficacy, if you like, of their ideas and why they're doing it. But more broadly, why do we need exploration at all if we're moving towards a renewables future? And Labor has very open policies on this. So what we will do if we are elected into government is commission a broad-scale review into seismic testing, full stop, not just here off the coast. Like, I applaud what everybody's doing. Like, I think the weekend's rally down on the beach that Halle organised was just fantastic, and I've seen the footage and it's great. But more broadly, why? Why are we doing it anywhere in Australia? So my answer is I wouldn't support anything that harms marine life. I don't know what the status is of the thing that's off the coast at the moment because we're not in government, so that would be more of a question for Lucy. But from my perspective, we must commission a review and we must act in the best interests of our marine life, particularly our whales. And I know that there is good, strong evidence to suggest that seismic testing can impact migratory routes and harm marine life.
Thanks, Anne.
I'm not a scientist.
Somebody else like to?
Yeah. Look, as a kid, you were told never to tap on a fish tank because it wasn't good for the fish. That's a pretty simple way of looking at it, but it is that dramatic. There is no such thing as safe seismic testing. If you get online and you look at the company that's promoting it and the other company that they employed to produce the report, their own reports tell us that it's not safe. Okay, it will destroy everything in the ocean for miles. It takes a minimum of 6 months for the fish to even begin to recuperate. There's absolutely no need for it. They're trying to promote it by saying, oh, it'll give cheap gas and make the economy greater for the locals. The reality is the federal government needs to kick in and ensure that we have essentially a fund that looks after Aussies and their resources, okay? If you're in Abu Dhabi or anywhere in the United Arab Emirates, you only pay 15 cents for a litre of fuel because they look after their own people. So why would we export liquid gas to Japan where the Japanese make more money than we do out of it? And this will be the next story. It'll be another Aussie resource that's ripped up, chopped up, sold cheap, and we'll be buying it back at some stupid price. There's no such thing as safe seismic testing, okay? And I'm not a greenie by any long shot measure of the stick. I'm just using common sense. I'm telling him 100% against it. It's that simple. It won't happen on my watch. Thank you.
Thank you. Any of the other candidates like to address that question?
Well, I'd just like to say that the Greens oppose seismic testing and the development of any more fossil fuel deposits, oil, gas or anything, because the scientists are telling us we have 12 years to reverse our current situation. And if we want to have a serious plan about addressing the climate emergency. It means no more coal, no more oil, no more gas. It's pointless to be damaging our wildlife off the coast with a view to developing something that we need to be getting out of. We need to transition to renewables, and we can do it. It's possible. It's even going to be a jobs-rich option for us in the future, and provide all sorts of opportunities that while we have our heads mired in this sort of coal bag we can't picture, they're there, and we can tap into that. So it's just no, and it's no. The Greens, the Australian Greens, are against it in all Australian waters.
Thanks, Kath. Another question from the floor?
Oh,
Well, hang on.
I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I think we should keep that. Yeah, please.
Did you want to?
You should go first.
All right, I should go. No, you go, Lucy.
It's okay, up to you.
Here we go, we're playing cat and mouse. Look, I organised that together with Halle, and I'm on the committee of Save Our Coast. We organised it, Halle and I argued with this Newcastle-based organisation, of which we're committee members, to come down here to the marginal seat of Robertson to pressure on behalf of the whole east coast of Australia. I've gone down and I've met in the Parliament with Dr. Karen Phelps. I've also met with candidates in Warringah and at McKellar across there, Alice Thompson. All of us are united up and down the coast here to stop pep11. Our argument is this. pep11 was renewed in 2008. Note that date. 2008. One big party opened that petroleum exploration permit. It wasn't the Liberal Party. Both parties, I understand, are locked in to large donations from members of the Minerals Council and others. I understand you need some loyalty in this regard. I've been a businessman myself. But in this case, we need to cut through and cancel the entire permit before the proponent puts it forward. If the proponent puts it forward and they do find something, they've already conducted seismic testing off Norah Head already, and that's why they're going ahead. It was us who have pushed since January. The first rally I held was in January. The second was in February at Avoca Beach Cinema, where we had 400 people packed. And last week, we had 2,000 people holding hands along the beach. The community cares about it. My argument is this: cancel the entire petroleum exploration permit before it becomes a thing called sovereign risk. If this company starts, finds something, there will be no stopping it. There will be no stopping it. And the company, the proponent, I know the community newspapers did an interview with the proponent, and he quoted Tobias Foster, said, "This could be Australia's next Bass Strait."
Shame.
That's what he said. That's the proponent of the proponent of the rigs. That's why I'm trying to get all of the parties. I know personally all of the candidates want to stop it, but they need their parties in writing to stop it before the election. This is the political process. It's not good enough to throw it to a bureaucratic process. We can make that decision when we vote in. If I was elected as an independent member, or any of them down the coast, they will press the government of the day to make sure that they cancel pep11. So we've made an alliance in that regard of independence, and this is how independents work well in your parliament. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the question. And firstly, can I say, like all candidates, and as a surf lifesaver, I love our marine environment too. And I don't want to see anything happen to our marine, a beautiful marine environment, or our marine life, particularly whales and dolphins, which I do a lot of watching and spotting whenever I can. Can I just address three things? Firstly, why is this even happening? Well, the why is because in New South Wales, 95% of gas actually has to be found from other places other than New South Wales. 95% of the gas that is used in New South Wales doesn't come from New South Wales. And gas is one of the factors that is actually pushing up the cost of electricity. Now, we can have a debate about that at another time, but just to lay out, if you like, the why. How does this happen? Well, this is actually a process that is conducted by an independent regulator, NOPSEMA. NOPSEMA Is that really my time? No?
No.
Okay, sorry. NOPSEMA is responsible. It is an independent, one of the most independent and robust statutory authorities responsible for the regulation of seismic testing and offshore gas exploration in the world. Its job is to assess the science. Its job is to make sure that the process is sound and safe, and it does so with great rigour, and it does so independent of government. I reject any assertion that there might be donations linked to anything like that. I'm sorry, I do not agree. I also have to correct the Labor candidate because it was actually a Liberal, the Liberal Minister for Resources who did strengthen the consultation process recently by regulation to make sure that we now have an even more robust community consultation process should there be any further plans lodged by the company that has the permit there. Should they do that, and I have no knowledge of whether there are any plans lodged at the moment. In fact, my understanding is that there are no plans lodged at the moment. NOPSEMA is required to approve that, but before they do that, there is now a further requirement for community consultation and public community consultation, thanks to these recent regulations which the Minister for Resources has signed off on, to make sure that your voice is heard and that NOPSEMA actually is required to take that into consideration. Finally, what would I do as your local member? Well, as somebody who also cares about our environment, I will say, but as somebody who is not a scientist, my background is in teaching, corporate affairs, Telstra regulation, all sorts of things like that, but I'm not a scientist. I do trust the experts, and I will say that I will give very careful consideration. I will look at all of the evidence. I will be seeking to satisfy myself to make sure that every single process that is followed is robust, and that NOPSEMA, which is, my understanding is it is independent, very stringent, and is responsible for assessing the science and the environmental impact. They will do that taking into full account the community's feedback in any future plans that may or may not be lodged. As I said, it's a process that is conducted by NOPSEMA, which is not a decision on the floor of the Parliament. It's conducted by NOPSEMA. That they are responsible for for any approval of the environmental plan.
I don't think there's anything known as safe explosions. Okay, would you go on?
Thank you.
That's enough. Thank you, that's okay.
Science is, it's common sense.
Thank you.
Okay,
Common sense.
somebody...